Hey, welcome back to the Marianne Hickman Show. Today's guest is Jen Kitterman. Now, I want to brag about her for a little bit because she just started getting on stages this year. And between the time when we recorded this episode and last night, it was just about a week, she signed on 6 trial clients and actually got her first brand new paid client, which just leaves me stoked. It just goes to show exactly what's possible when you put your business and yourself on stage. Now, here's what I want you to do before you listen to this episode. Go interrupt yourself and like and subscribe because I don't want you to miss a couple upcoming episodes that I have in the hopper for you. I've got Renee Moore of More Natural coming on, and I've got Keaton the Muscle Hoskins coming out in just a couple weeks. So make sure you hit subscribe. Check it out. Tell me what's new in your world. Like, we meet every day, so I know.
Yeah.
But like, we only meet for like 30 minutes and only 2 minutes of that is when you get to talk. So
Yeah.
what's like, you've gone from like, to my knowledge, not speaking at all to now you're taking stages. Now you're doing events. Are you like putting on events now? Like what happened this year? What happened before I met you?
Holy smokes. Where to start? Where to start? So like last year, I signed up for a speaker course and I was like, you know how you like get lost in the background of things? Like it's kind of crazy how often in my life I've found myself there where I'm just like, okay, I'm be in the background and I'm not going to be on the stage. And I was like feeling called to it. So
Yeah.
I bought a course
Okay.
and actually took some action.
Yeah.
But I was still staying in the background.
Oh, wow.
And then I met Christy Hunter, and it was one of those things that we kept being put together. And
Where'd you meet her?
We met at 5th grade camp.
No kidding.
Our kids went to the same school, and we met at 5th grade camp. And we were like, we should be friends. And then we just kind of, we got each other's numbers and we didn't do anything. And then we met at a Chris Crone event, and then it was like, hey, we should be friends. And then we didn't. We just, like let it go. And then
God's like putting you in the same room over and over and just like,
yes. And then we took the breakthrough course together.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, we keep bumping into each other. Like we need to be together. And I was putting together a summit at that time, like an online summit. And then she was putting together her event. And it was like, you be on my thing, I'll be on your thing, it'll be great. And
wow.
It was just kind of downhill from there. And now I've been on like 3 physical stages and lots of, digital stages.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's really cool.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Listen, I'm interrupting my own show because I want to give you something. Now, you guys all want to get on more stages. I've got a free resource for you of stages that are just clamoring for guests. They need guests on a daily, weekly, sometimes monthly basis. This is my podcast database. Now, what I'm going to do is have you go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put in your information there, I'm going to send this to you totally for free. Open up this database. You're going to click through it, find the next podcast that's relevant to your topic, hit the application button, show up on their podcast, get in front of their people, and share your content. Remember, mariannehickman.com/database. Let's get you unlocked. So when you started first getting on stages, we talked a lot about breakthrough, right? And gosh, I was just thinking about this morning as we were talking, and it's going to generate a post. I know it. But what we need isn't always what we want, and what we want isn't always what we need or what we think it is anyway. And when I started getting into a company that was marketing breakthrough, we had the hardest time like getting clients and getting signups, because the whole idea of breakthrough is a very vulnerable process. It's a very raw process. And it's usually, at least in my experience, the underlying thing to what you think the problem actually is. So it's very hard to market that. And it sounds like you're running into the same thing where we need to give the people what they think they want in order to give them what they need. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So I think pretty much every program that I've ever been in is a mindset course wrapped in the box of a real estate thing or a whatever thing, And then you get in there and you're like, oh, wow, I actually needed to change something.
Yeah.
but it wasn't real estate, or it wasn't this, or maybe you got that along with it, but it was really that I needed to go straight to the root of the problem, which is the beliefs that I made as a child. And when you finally start touching those, it's like so uncomfortable.
Does it hurt when I touch it?
Yeah, it's like, just don't do it. And I became certified in breakthrough, and we had to, part of the course, we had to have our own breakthroughs. We would have like we had to have 35 breakthroughs given and received,
Wow.
which was
Those are deep. That's
crazy.
a lot.
It was a lot of breakthroughs.
Yep.
And so every week it was scheduled, like I have to receive mine and I have to give them, and it was so uncomfortable. Every week I was like, I think of a reason that I cannot be on this call, because it's scary, and it's like your body is like, don't do that, because you're going to find another limiting belief.
Danger.
Yes. And it's scary. And so when you're talking about it, it's hard to tell people about it, because their alarms start going off in their body, like, but wait, I'm comfortable here, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was just talking to Cheryl about this last night. She just popped over and she asked, she said that she got asked this question: what's the difference between a network and a community? And I was listening to her talk about when she answered that in her head, and she answered just the way that I was thinking. You know, she like spoke my mind. And I wanted to, before I give my opinion, I wanted to hear yours on this, because it leads into where we're going next. So what do you feel like the difference between a network and a community is?
For sure. It seems like the word network just feels like I'm going there to get something, where like a community feels more like a family, where it's like we're real with each other, and it doesn't matter if I just woke up and I'm like, it's okay. You can show up here and you're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So she said, my phone is just not shutting up. She said something here, you can have it. There's a lot. I just posted a thread that's going crazy, and every time I get a response, I get it in 4 different platforms. So it's like, okay. So when I was building this community of our accountability call, I was like, I want it to be a community. I want it to be a place where we're vulnerable, and you have made it what it is. And I've loved just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm lucky or if you do this with everybody, where you're just so real that you make fast friends with people. And has that always been the case for you? Or because when you jump on the call, I was like, oh, it's Jen. Not like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm like, oh, Jen's here. It's Jen, right? Like, what has that always been the case for you?
No, for sure. I feel like there's been a lot of layers deep trying to get to be to a place. I used to pretend to be that person.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm starting to actually become the person that I was pretending to be.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So does this tie in, because you have started a whole company centered around health, and it came from your own health journey, but we've said, everything that we think we know is tied to something that we really need. What made you start your health journey, health company?
Yeah. I struggled with my health all through my life, and I've had 4 kids, and it goes up and down, and you ride the roller coaster, and I would get to a point where I was like, I think I got it this time, and then I would just lose it. And
what does that mean? Like,
where
were you on the side of like, what side of health were you on?
I was on the side of like, I would just over-exercise and under-eat. And that worked when I was in my 20s. And so it was like, oh, I'll just do what works, because that works. And, and it's stupid. It's completely stupid, but it felt like that was the only thing that I could do, And so I rode the roller coaster so many times. And during COVID, I just hit a low.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting on my bed one day and just feeling powerless. And I realized in that moment I couldn't do it by myself. And so I asked for help. I just dropped to my knees and I asked for help in that moment. And within 2 weeks, I found a coach that not only taught me a really simple way But she was doing a form of breakthrough with me, and she helped me go deep on the reasons why I was punishing my body and I why I couldn't figure it out because I was making it this big thing and I was not treating my body like it was a friend. I was treating it as my enemy. And when you're working against your body like that instead of with it,
Yeah.
obviously it's going to be a lot harder. And it like clicked for me that first that I wasn't my body, that I could serve my body because isn't it funny how easy it is to like want to go and clean somebody else's house, but I hate cleaning my own house.
Oh, for real. Ask my teenagers. Oh my gosh.
You
We
know?
all struggle with this. I don't want to throw them under the bus. We all struggle with this.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and so it's like, oh, like when I separate myself from my body, I feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna serve you and I'm gonna take care of you because of you, I get to experience this amazing life.
So when you hopped on stage, you talked a lot about confidence and the confidence goes. Has your signature keynote kind of evolved? Or is that confidence thing kind of the foundation piece to the health journey? How do those blend?
Yeah, I think everything in life really starts with confidence, whether it's just taking the first step or anything in your life. If you can have enough confidence to start something, then you can do anything.
Why don't people start things? Like you're taking the stage. Number one scariest place in the world because the number one fear is public speaking.
Yeah.
And if that's the number one fear, then that's the scariest place, right? So what put you there?
Yeah, I felt called to do it.
But most people ignore the call. If they
Yeah.
feel called, they're like, it's not for me. It's that general feeling,
Yeah.
right? So what made you push through that and actually do it?
I think the biggest thing is I made a commitment and I started taking action. Like so many people, they talk, and it'll be like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. And you get all excited about it, but then you stop and you get lost in the weeds like I used to all the time.
The wallflower.
Yes, like, oh, don't look at and, and it's just when you start taking action on little things in the right direction, then your path changes. Like in the beginning, I used to be like, okay, I need to know all the steps, like tell me ABC all the way to Z. But the problem is you start at A and you get to B, but it changes. Like I just made this step, but because I figured that step out, it's not the same thing that I thought the next step after that would be.
Mm.
And
Is it
so
the
it's
same?
evolving.
Like, is it the same in health? Because when I'm listening to you say this, I'm like, oh, you could say that system about health, about relationships, about anything. And you're right. It just comes back to this whole mindset thing. I really want to hear the story, Jen. I want to get deep on this story of your entire health journey from getting to where you were. And like, give me some metrics. Like how did you know beyond feeling this way that you needed to make a shift in your health? Was it like a body fat percentage? Was it looking at the scale? Was it like pant size? What was it like anorexia? I want to know, like, let's get real and tell me what it was as much as you're willing to.
Of course.
And I want to know what took you from not only getting to a place where you love your body and it's healthy and it's performing for you to now I'm teaching other people how to do this. Cause it didn't just stop with you. So go back to the beginning. Tell me about how you knew that something was not functioning.
For sure. When I hit the 200-pound mark, I was like, that was like my red flags are going up like, wait, what happened? What happened? And I feel like everybody has their red flag moment.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the barrel or the end of my rope, wherever it is, like you have this awakening, like, whoa, something's wrong. And that was like my wake up call. When I hit over 200 pounds, I was just like, okay, something's got to change.
I got to ask you about this because I'm working on a theory right now. Do you think that we decide where our rock bottom is?
Yeah, for sure. Because it could have been any number for me. For some people it's 300. For some people it's 2. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's just a number.
Yeah.
And 199 to 201, like 2 pounds. Like, why was that?
Yeah.
It's dumb.
What was that number not arbitrary for you? That was your rock bottom. And again, I'm thinking about how this is applicable to people not only in their health. We're like, okay, this is the point of intolerability. People with their finances, people with their I don't know, relationships, people with their mission and their goal in life. There's a rock bottom. And the crazy thing is, I think you're right. We do get to decide where it is. And if we're experiencing a sucky life long enough, we have still accepted everything that we're experiencing in a realm of tolerability until we decide it's not tolerable. Okay, so you get on the scale, it says 200 pounds, then what?
Then I was pretty much super depressed and, doing all the things you do when you're depressed, like, okay, I'm going to go to food and then it just keeps the cycle going. And it was like, you have to change something. And so there's a point that you realize, like, I can't, like, if I had the ability to do it myself, it would already be done.
That's a gold nugget right there.
So I need to find somebody who has the thing that I need to teach me how to not only get it, but keep it.
So this rock bottom is when, and I know this feeling of, okay, I'm hitting my knees. I'm at the bottom. I need to look up. I need to ask for help, because obviously I can't do it on my own. If I could have, I would have by now. So you're looking for a coach. You found a coach and you start doing this mindset work, right? So tell me about the breakthrough experience that you had. And even if you could, like, go back in time and tell us, what was the moment where the limiting belief really locked in?
I don't know that there was one specific moment, because it was kind of a lot of little moments combined. But definitely when I could separate myself from my body and start serving it instead of punishing it was probably the biggest one.
But what made you aware of that? What was the moment, like maybe in your breakthrough, that made you aware that you were punishing your body?
Going back there. There was just a moment that it was it was a shift where for one moment I was against my body, and the next moment it was like a big hug, like, finally you remember, like, we're friends,
Yeah.
and it was like coming home, and just that feeling of, oh, there you are,
Yeah. Yeah.
that moment of discovery, self-discovery.
So now you've taken it into, tell me what happened after that, because you were at 200 pounds. You had this probably series of breakthroughs, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
So my first 30 days in this program, I lost 18 pounds.
Wow.
Over the next 6 months, I lost another 30. And I've been able to maintain that over the last 4 years now. And after
That's a long track record, by the way.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's my longest track record.
Yeah. That sounds like permanent behavior, lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it was just simple things, just the simplest things, because before it was hard. And so I didn't want to do it.
What was hard? What were the simple things that were so hard?
Well, just things that you think of as work. Like, okay, you've got to work out. Like, it was even the words that you use. Like, okay, you've got to track your meals, like track, like that's a triggering word for me. Like workout, like, all the bells are
It
going
does not
off.
sound fun.
And I'm like, every time those words, like, I just want to go eat some ice cream because I'm, So even
Trigger warning.
changing the words that you use for things like that, like instead of working out, it was like, let's do 30 minutes of movement, whatever it is, whether that's walking or something that brings you joy, instead of something that you hate, and that was the problem. I was like, well, they say you have to go on the treadmill or whatever, so I'll do that. Trudge. On the
Dr. Joe
treadmill.
Dispenza talks about a lot of the words that we use and how it programs our body. And we were talking to Tasha about this just a couple days ago about how when she was under stress, her body would show up under stress and retain things that it didn't need. And when she stopped being stressed, it was like a bunch of weight just shed. And I know that sounds magical, woo-woo, but there's a lot of science behind it when, you know, when we get back in time to the fight or flight era and when our bodies felt threatened, like you're saying, you use the word trigger, but when we feel threatened, our body tends to go into preservation mode and preserve and say, you might need these calories later, so we're going to hang on to these. And so when you change the wording and just let your body know, like, no, we're in a realm of safety here. We have a realm of like, this is fun, not just safe, but fun, and I'm enjoying it. Now, it's not like I have to get on the treadmill. It's, I mean, what your favorite workout? What is it?
Walking.
Just walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then it's even more fun if you bring somebody with you.
Yeah.
When you're chatting, or like I'll listen to an audiobook while I'm walking. It's just fun.
But you're lifting weights too. I see you every morning.
I do love lifting weights. And I used to be so afraid that I was going to like get too bulky.
Just try and get too bulky. Ask us how hard it is.
You know, it's so funny what you think until
you should see Richard's face.
change
You
your
see him
mind.
nodding back there. We did CrossFit for a long time and occasionally we'll step back into it, but that you'll hear that from the girls. And it's like they're afraid they're going to get too bulky. And then they see how much work it takes to get bulky. And by the time, if you do get bulky, you get there, you wear that stuff with, hey, girl. You're like, yeah, look at my bulk. And then they go crazy. And then
Yeah.
All right. I've seen a lot of really, really, really bulky women, but it takes them getting on lots of, I'll call them supplements. And it also like I usually see them on stage in bikini wellness physique competitions. And I asked Richard one day, I'm like, is that how far you want me to go? And he's like, no, please no. I want to live.
You like bench pressing.
If I needed to, I could bench press him, but it's functional fitness. I could. Look at me like that.
Wow.
Okay, so now you're teaching health. Tell me about that transition. You get healthy and now what?
And then when you find something so magical, you have to share it with people. And it was such a profound change within me that I was just like, oh my gosh, like you have to spread the good word, right? It's like I was
my
a missionary.
testimony.
Totally.
So when you started doing this, who did I'm sure that you have found clients that are like the perfect client. And I'm sure you have found clients that are like, oh, I don't work with you. What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my very favorite people are just people that are willing to try something new. There's a lot of people that will be like, usually they come around. Even the ones that are like worried, they come around.
Are they usually surprised that it's just as much of a mental game as it is a physical game?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest comment is like, wow, I lost all this weight, but I'm like a completely different person now. And people are like starting businesses and doing all these things afterwards because they find so much confidence in that journey.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's awesome. I remember in my weight loss journey, I did several yo-yos. I'm sure you did too. I remember when I got to one of my goal weights, I was 113 pounds. I was sitting on the side of a little splash pad riverbank and I was looking around and I was like comparing myself to these other women with their other kids. And I was at my goal. That's the thing. Like I had arrived, if you will, but I had not done the mental work. And so that I gained a bunch of weight after that. But I remember being there and looking around and realizing that I was still comparing myself to other people and I was still wishing for what they had and envious and all of these things. And I was like, well, crap, I'm at my goal, but I'm not there. And sure enough, I gained it all right back after I got off whatever diet I was on. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I did what you're talking about the inner work, as people like to say, as we do one thing, we do all things. And I think that's true. There are some influencers out there that are challenging that idea. They're like, no, I don't do homework the same as I do breakfast or whatever. And it's because, and I was like, no, I think you're missing the principle, because you treat things you like the same. You treat things you don't like the same. And so you are doing one thing as you do all things because you have this way of doing the world with your preferences. And when I realized that I was treating my business the same way I was treating my body, I treated everything that was quote unquote important to me the same way. And that way was not good. And so when I fixed that, I experienced the same thing. Now, a lot of people, gosh, there's this idea that I ascribe to that I get to have everything I want unless I get something better. And so mastering health, and, mastering public speaking, mastering marriage, and I'm not saying I'm arrived in any one of those areas. I'm still in the realm of mastery. But how did you pick health? Because you could have picked a million different things that you're good at. Why was the health journey the one that you decided to make a business out of?
I think it was just the most transformative for me personally. I've done a lot of work, and it feels like kind of like what you're talking about. We really fall to our defaults in areas, and you have to almost work on places like individually, So I've done a bunch of work on relationships. I've done a bunch of work in health and in money, and that health just feels the most empowering to me personally. And I feel like you have to go with what you feel called to.
Yeah. How are you finding new clients?
Mostly online, just posting things on Instagram, and people find me, and it's pretty cool.
Cool. So I call Instagram digital stages, right?
Digital stages.
So I love digital stages through that. Where do you want your business to go from here? Like, what's the big, hairy, we talk about BHAGs all the time on the call, but what's the big, hairy, audacious goal specifically for your health business? Like the pinnacle moment that you're hoping for. And I have to ask with a word of caution because I asked this question to Christy and she got it and then she freaked out and she's like, oh crap, I have to make another one. So just be prepared to get it when you say what it is. But where do you see yourself going? Is it having your own TV series? Is it, coaching Hollywood stars? Is it where do you want to see that go?
I think my really big, hairy, audacious goal right now is I want to eventually open a women's retreat center that is like I can imagine it. It's like half is indoor, half is outdoor, and there's yoga and breath work and breakthrough and anything that you need for your health journey.
I want to hear you talk about that way more often because I remember that you said that and I was like, oh, me too. That's my thing too. We should do it together.
Let's do it together.
Because I like this with your retreat center. Would you imagine, wanting to do that like a week-long retreat for people, or do they live there, or how do people partake of this?
Yeah. I think probably a week at a time. That sounds right.
Okay. So they come experience a week at a time. They can come back, I'm sure. Here's my next question. How are you doing that already?
I'm doing it online.
Have you ever thought of hosting a women's overnighter?
That'd be great.
Just it's a small measure of the big dream, but hosting a weekend or a ladies, I don't know, getaway of some kind.
I haven't done it yet, but yes,
let's go. I want to do that. Okay. So how do people find you if they want to work with you? If they love what they're hearing, they love your results, and they want the same, how do they find you?
They just go to jenkitterman.com.
Cool. Okay, jenkitterman.com. You heard it right here. Okay, any final words? If you had to, if you died tomorrow, God forbid, knock on all the wood, what would be the message that you would want to leave with the entire planet?
Love yourself. Just love yourself and see yourself the way that God sees you. He made you on purpose, and it's your job to find that purpose.
I love that. Thank you. Guys, this is Jen. You need to go check her out. We're going to post her link in the show notes. Do you have, I forgot, did you write an ebook yet that we can give to people?
I have a free 30-day challenge right now on my website. If you go there, you can sign up.
Okay, so go to jenkitterman.com, check it out, and watch for Jen on stages, both locally, digitally. I know you're doing a bunch of teen events and things for grown-ups too. I'm glad you're taking the stage. This message is so powerful. Okay, we'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, what's up? Marianne Hickman here. Hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed that episode. We have some pretty amazing speakers on my podcast and, of course, more to come. If this is something that you enjoyed, guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. You guys know what to do. I love your comments and I respond to every single one of them personally, not a bot or an agency. So if this is something you're enjoying, tell me about it. Tell me your gold nuggets. I want to hear from you. But here's the most important thing I want you to laser in on. I told you about the podcast database. You've probably seen me post about it all over social media. I want to make sure that you get it. So here's what I want you to do. Go to mariannehickman.com/database. Once you put all of your information in there, I'm going to send you the document. You request access to it. Boom, it's unlocked. Once you're in there, my rule of thumb is to apply to 10 podcasts a month. It's very digestible. It's very easy to do. And the database gets updated twice a week. So I want you constantly checking back in there for the next podcast that fits your audience. Thank you for being here. Much love to you, and we'll see you in the next episode.